So we are going to talk about something very interesting. How many of you here are dedicated business relationship managers? Raise your hand. Like you have a title called business relationship managers. Okay, folks from Unilever, folks from Deloitte have dedicated titles called BRM, right? But it's like the Superman or the Superwoman, right? We don't come in capes, correct? We don't kind of bring that, but we all can be business relationship managers. How many of you people think that relationship is the essence of thriving in life? How many of you think? In spite of AI coming into picture? Yes? Okay, brilliant. We all will have jobs. So now we're going to talk about what's the hallmark of high-performing BRM. Now you can replace BRM with your own titles. It doesn't matter. But we all have to have this necessary skill set that will actually impact and create value. Do you know this theme of this event? Let's see how many of you listened to Satya's talk on welcome address. There was a theme for this BRM world tour. What was the theme of this world tour? There was two statements that she said.
I wasn't there, but I would assume managing relationship is the best career choice as well.
Because you're doing as a panel discussion then, right? There's two things she said was, okay, people something, but, okay, she obviously talked about people, purpose, planet, but that's very two important part is value and impact. So today, if you want to be identified as a business relationship manager, the only way that you're going to do is when you actually create value and impact. Yes? Actually, Partho actually mentioned very clearly. No, they've been doing it for a long period of time. We've been associated, and he said that we still exist with the BRM. And the organization has gone through a roller coaster ride, but still they are intact, which means that they have delivered so much value. So we're going to focus on value and impact. So a little bit of background. I think I don't want to go through this one, but I'm very passionate about business relationship management. I've been doing this for the last 2015 onwards, so it's about close to about 10 years. I've been doing coaching, consulting, training on BRM, and I've been grateful to this whole community because it has given me a lot of accomplishments, but it's also about giving back to the community. So I'm very honored to be an Asia Pacific leader for the business relationship management community. I've been in this space and I'm coming all the way from Melbourne, Australia, but east or west, Bangalore is the best. And you can always tell about that when I'm very passionate about this one. So over the years, I've had opportunities to be a master BRM, which is also on the highest level of status, but also what I really liked about was in Washington, DC. Malini, if you remember, we are all award winners. So the first time in the history, in 2017 in Washington, DC, I was given 4 Excellence Awards in one. And they embraced all 4 together. BRM Excellence Award, Community of Interest Impact, Global Community Impact and Mentor. So I was very honored because in the history, they have not given 4 awards to one single person in that particular thing. So I'm very grateful to the BRM Institute for being part of this exercise. And if you see, these logos have changed. In 2016, this is where I met Malini in Sydney. I won the Trailblazer Award. From that logo has now changed to BRM, where R is at the center. Do you know what does R as a center mean? It's a relationship-centered organization. Today, all organizations have to thrive towards building that capability, what we call as relationship-centered organization, right? That's very important. So now let's get into our core aspect of it. So if I ask BRM, what would you consider? You ask these terms, are they relationship builders? Yes? Between your own internal units, but also with external partners, correct? By the way, is business relationship management an internal function or an external function? Both. Can be both, but predominantly it's an internal function. Please remember this, right? You have to get your house in order first before you can talk about something else, right? Do you still remember this analogy that they tell you in aeroplane? What is the analogy related to that?
Help yourself.
First, put your oxygen mask first, right? Secure yourself before you can secure others. Yes or no? Right? So it's very important for us to look at our house should be in order, and that's why we are trying to focus. Trusted advisors. What's the maturity model that we are talking about? At what level? 4th, level 4, right? We have ad hoc, order taker, service provider, trusted advisor, which is at level 4. How many of you think we have reached level 4? Okay, few people have raised hands. Few people we don't even know where we are. Correct or not? Right? So that's a part of doing it. Now, how many of you heard of the term called demand shaping? I was just talking to Anup a little bit before. See, demand management means whatever the organization tells you, you execute, like an order taker. You go to a restaurant, what they'd say, what do you want? Sir, medium spicy, more spicy, less spicy, that's it, right? So all of those stuff is basically order takers. We have to move away from being order takers to what we call as demand shaping. We decide whether it's in engineering services or IT, can we drive to that? We heard about this connector, orchestrator, navigator. But I want to talk about orchestrator. How many of you remember Steve Jobs? Yeah, we all know about Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs, when he came and presented every time at the Bay Area, when he comes there, you still remember which is costume? His favorite costume? Black t-shirt and probably blue jeans, right? What happens is he comes back, and when he spends the time to talk about his products, everybody gives a thunderous applause. So one of the engineer was working for Steve says, Steve, this is unfair. We do all the hard work and you get the name. It's like our manager, right?
Yeah.
Someone gets the name, but we do all the hard work, correct? And he said, well, you're all a part of my band. You're a musician, you're a lyricist, you're a guitarist. I'm the orchestrator. Because only with orchestrator you get symphony. Otherwise you get cacophony. And that's, for me, is a big eye-opener. If you need to look at business relationship management, you need to look at it as an orchestrator. There'll be everything. How many times you have had bombs in your offices? A major incident, something broke, crowd strike. You still remember very vividly, right? All those things happening. I was just talking to Partho, he was saying, all the hard work that you do, nobody bothers. But that one day of crowd strike, everybody is behind your life. Yes or no? Yes. And that's so important for us to understand what we should be doing to become trusted advisors and strategic partners. Now, as we go through this, how many of you can relate with this principle that if you really look at this whole part, and I want to take a minute on this, how many times you have seen leadership team very disinterested in the conversation? Oh, the same PPT. How many of you still use this red, amber, green? These projects, I used to do 10 before my corporate life ended. I told about red, amber, green. Still we have red, amber, green with AI infused, because today everything is around AI infused. But that's the part. This is a boring team, correct? How many times have you seen that people don't even invite you for a strategic meeting? What do they say? Do they invite us for a strategic meeting? What do they say? If they don't invite you, why are they not inviting you as part of IT or engineering services to strategic team? Why?
There's no value on it.
There's no value. There's no impact on the way we do it, right? The point is that it is not about what value we think we bring to the table. It's what they perceive to be at a part of the conversation that we are trying to talk about, right? So everything is around towards making that work. How many of you are business leaders? You've had conversation with business leaders as well. See this one. Competitive advantage, is it more important for them? They are not talking about how to keep the lights on. Correct? We are talking about how do we transform. I was talking to one of the companies, they are investing $5 billion on AI transformations. $5 billion. And that's the whole scope of what we are trying to talk about. Increasing market share. Very important. Reducing costs and increasing productivity. By the way, hybrid models, is it working? Hybrid models, right? How many of you have been asked to come to office at least 3 times a week? Yeah? Is it working or not, please? Give me a confession. Is it happening or not? Is it working or not? I see Saida actually vigorously shaking her head. First of all, you have to understand, when we have used to certain ways of life, it is very difficult to retrain, rechange. Yes or no? So why are organizations not being empathetic about, as long as the work gets done, what's the problem? No. I want to see their faces. Then only I will trust. I think we are in that era that everything has to be operated without having that face-to-face interactions. We just have to do it. Obviously, I also agree that sometimes in online sessions, we don't have the videos on. How many of you have been in online sessions where people don't even switch on the videos? And I ask these people, right? Hey, what happened? Bandwidth issue, right? How many of you have heard about this whole thing? If you are genuinely interested to build relationship, you have to get your videos on throughout. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. I'm telling you this straight. Whether I have had instances where the customer will not have the video, I will have the video throughout. Because it shows my commitment. That I am dedicating my time for you. You all agree? So one thing if you can pick up from my talk today is to show up with your cameras or full effort without any inhibitions. That's very important. Now, as we start to look at it, I ask this question, what does BRMs do for our organization, for our respective organizations? And you get this part of doing this, saying that we are a business-focused organization. All it takes a little bit of time. Within IT that combines strategic vision and deliver results that drive growth, increase effectiveness, and improve business performance. So, I talked about IT, but it could be engineering services as well. You can bring in everything towards part of making that. The key word is growth, improving business performance. We focus a lot on technology. Is technology an enabler or technology is actually driving change? It's driving change. But are we investing on people? How many organizations here invest on people? Invest on people. People basically, their capability development, their enablement, opportunities to grow, correct? Now you all are familiarized with one of the story that the chief of human resource goes to the CEO of the company and says, what happens if we train all these people and they leave the organization? And the CEO says, what happens? We don't train all these people and they stay back in our organization, right? It's a question of really talking about with the change happening, we need to adapt and adopt to change, but also bringing that value means that we have to do things very differently. Do you all agree? What has taken you so far will not take you beyond. And that requires a different level of competencies and skills that needs to be developed. And that's where I think BRM can actually be a game changer. I want to put some quotes which I actually liked a lot. If you think you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. And you're right. Mark Twain tells us very clearly, right? If you think about Wright brothers, how many of you still know Wright brothers? Right? The air-powered flight. Well, did you ever think about whether we'll be able to fly like a bird and things like that? Someone thought sometime and they made it happen, correct? The whole part is about innovation, is about imagination. Can innovation come without imagination? Which means we should be able to imagine it. So I was talking about someone said, how are we innovating? They say, oh, what's the innovation for this quarter? It cannot happen like quarter by quarter. You need to have think tank time. How many of you can agree that in order to innovate sometimes you need to have think tank time? Do we have think tank time? No. The only time we have think tank time is in the loo or in the shower. Yes or no? That's the only time we are able to think. Otherwise we are just going by busy being busy. And this is not going to help you anywhere as well. So, now let's talk about what happens. You are a BRM, you are introduced to the organization and say, hey Kamalakar, great to meet you, I'm a BRM. He says, by the way, what do they do in your organization? How many of the times you have heard? What does the BRM do in your organization? Rachit, how have you had? Did anybody ask you about BRM when you actually did this training? You were one of the first to do BRM, PC, BRM. Tell me what happened when, has your organization understood what BRM was?
Not the local, but the global one.
Global?
Yes.
This is बहुत बढ़िया है. So this the whole point is the global understands the capability, the local people don't understand it. And this is part of the problem that we have to do it. One of the reasons why Asia Pacific is not growing is because we haven't created local leaders. And that's why we want to do this session to increase local leaders, right? Now, as you start to get through this, I want to narrate to think about Ma Durga, right? You know, one of the fascinating things about Goddess Durga is about she has got so many hands. Yes or no? Yes. Which is phenomenal, right? And I just want to narrate that to the BRMs. They are planners, they are problem solvers, they are consultants, they are differentiators, strategists, innovators. Can one person do all? Can one person do it all? We are supposed to do it. There is no other option, right? So for me, I want you to think about going just beyond what you're doing to think to the overall scheme of things, what's possible. It is chaotic. And I think people that business relationship management is not for everyone. You all agree? Sometimes you have to be thick-skinned. How many of you can agree with this? If everything goes well, the team did a great job. If something goes wrong, blame it on the BRM. They did not, they goofed it up. So the whole importance is to understand sometimes you should not be worried about who gets the credit. Right? Take a deep breath and say, it's okay. We will just do what is needed to be done. As we go through this whole scenario, I'm reminded of another quote that tells how to move from good to great. How many of you have read the book called From Good to Great? Right? It's a great book. You should definitely read. And for me, greatness is a function, not a function of circumstances. How many times you have seen that, oh, we are not getting this value, we are not getting this support, we didn't get the budget for training. Everything that we talk about is not about circumstances. We all know about theory of constraints. There will be constraints, including our traffic jams. We have to still live with it and then move on. So greatness, it turns out, is largely a matter of conscious choice and discipline. How profound is this? Robin Sharma, in his book called 5 AM Club, says that small, insignificant things done consistently over a period of time deliver stunning results. Small, insignificant things. We actually overestimate what we can do in a year, and we underestimate what we can do in a day. How many of you can relate with this? You can do wonders in just one day. So just focus on small iterative improvements that will actually move the needle. So as we go through this, I want to now list out what is the DNA of a high-performing BRM. If you want to be a high-performing BRM, there are 3 things that I want to think about. Number 1, what it is. The makeup of a high-performing BRM, their characteristics, competencies, and actions. So you need to have characteristics of a particular BRM. We're going to talk about that. The second one is that competencies, right? What kind of competencies will make you play at the level of high-level BRM? And the third one is actions. You all heard about action speaks louder than words, right? Now that means your action should be the proof of pudding. So we're going to talk about characteristics, competencies, and actions. Why is it important for BRMs? The BRM role is very demanding. Do you all agree? It's like juggling so many different things at the same time. It's very demanding, very complex, and high profile. A level of maturity is needed for being a BRM. BRM is not for everybody. I think you should spend about 10 to 15 years to become a matured BRM. It takes time and effort, and of course a lot of gray hair to kind of get to this whole part of becoming a matured BRM. Loss of hair as well. That's wisdom, right? The knowledge that you can gain by doing this again and again takes you to the next pedestal altogether. The third one is how can you use it? Because anything that you don't use it will not remain for you. How many of you still remember algebra and trigonometry? You heard about that. Don't tell me that you remember. A few people like that, like Kunal might remember that, and people, he's like experts who have done that. Why do we don't remember this? Because we don't apply it. But addition, subtraction, we still remember, right? If you don't practice something, you will be out of this league. It includes about what we call as, we don't talk about AI knowledge, we talk about AI fluency. And that's what we should start building around. Okay? So now let's talk about what does it mean of building a high-performing DNA. For me, a very important part of the conversation is about credibility. Is credibility easy to develop or difficult to develop? You might have done so much great work, but one drop of thing done wrong will completely jeopardize the whole credibility that you built, correct?
Yes.
I was actually talking to one of my good friend Naveen Roy. He's running a successful business, has been an entrepreneur, been bouncing a lot of ideas, and I said, what's one of the biggest lessons you learned as an entrepreneur? He said, one thing I learned, that at any point of the time that I would not do anything which is against ethical norms, because one bad mark can jeopardize the whole credibility that we build. It is the same thing for BRM, correct? Whatever we are doing, and that's why I said, what you do, how you do one thing is the way that you do everything, right? So now here in terms of character and competence, which is easy to acquire? Is character easy or competency easy? Competency, everybody can do it. We put them into training, we do it, learning-based systems, everything is. Why is character? Why is character difficult? Why is character difficult? What does it take to build a character?
Trust.
Okay? Trust?
Consistent efforts.
Okay?
Discipline.
Does it? Discipline? Okay? How many of you, have, when you grew up, your kids, your parents would say that this is the way you behave? Have you heard about this one? वो चप्पा मारता है, right? If you don't do it, you just give a thing. Do you still remember now that was so valuable to the way you conduct yourself, right? A lot of times it finds to be very difficult when parents tell us, now we are understanding how the teenagers work. That's a different story altogether. But the question is, this character is something that you will be counted for. The way you behave with people. I've actually had in conferences, a lot of people come to me as, oh, you're a leader of the function, you're doing it. But there are other people who are just go unnoticed. Can we treat people with love and respect? एक इंसान को इंसान के तरफ से देखना है. If you can treat people with love and respect, isn't that so valuable? The power of relationship is the way you conduct someone else to the way you conduct rest of the people. I was actually in Novel Tech Park. There is a security guard called Arumugam, and every time we go there, we talk to him and share some perspectives. He's so thrilled because at his level of job, nobody even cares about even knowing him or talking to him. But the way we conducted ourselves is the way. You all have watched this movie called Munnabai MBBS? Yes. What is that striking aspect that distinguished Sanjay Dutt with other people? What is the most important part? The relationship of being authentic. Your character comes with being authentic. And that's how we should be able to conduct yourself. Otherwise, it will not be working. Now, if I want to build high-performing teams, so everybody wants to have a pyramid. The first one is the characteristics. The personal qualities they display and how they use them to connect with others. How many of the times you see that you see a lot of good things on social media, but if you meet the person on the in front of it, you get alarmed. He said, this is not the person I've actually met. Have you had this experience before? Like two sides of the spectrum. That's very interesting. Sometimes if you try to have one profile here and another profile here, it doesn't work, right? So a very important part is to be consistent in the way you conduct yourself. Okay. Number two, competencies. Now what's the difference between competency and knowledge? People interchangeably use these words. What does competency and knowledge means?
Knowledge is theoretical and competency is execution.
Excellent. Okay. So the question is, knowledge is basically you have the theory about it, but competency is application. Let's give you an example. How many of you watch MasterChef Kitchen? Right? We all love that, right? So you can actually read every recipe of looking at how to do it. But the whole point is whether you make a dish someone can eat. That is competency. Yes or no? Right? So the ability to apply has got a far more significance beyond knowledge. All right? Don't get me wrong. Knowledge is great, but knowledge will not take you beyond. Correct? The next one, what do you think? We have characteristics, we have competency. What is the third thing? What should we get after competencies? Okay? We need to take some action. Yeah? Because we got the knowledge, we have the right competency, but kuch karke dikhao bhai. You have to go and implement it. Otherwise, it is not going to be, the proof is in the pudding, correct? So what kind of actions do you think we should have? If I want to be a high-performing BRM, what kind of action do you think I should have? I mean, there's nothing harm. You can just tell.
Staying ahead.
Staying ahead of the curve, right? How can you be trendsetters, not followers, right? How many of these things are that, some people follow the trend. We can be trendsetters. But let's see what they are talking about. So one of the things is the actions that take a positive impact to the organization. So don't think about serving just the project. Think about how can it help my organization to succeed. And that's a very important part of the conversation that we need to have. So let's talk about characteristics. What are the characteristics of BRM? I have a few thoughts about this one, but let's talk about this one. Empathy. Are we empathetic? We're supposed to be empathetic. Jack Ma says that we have to move from IQ to EQ to LQ. You know IQ? Intelligent quotient. LQ? No, EQ is emotional quotient. What is LQ? Not learning. Love quotient. Can we treat people with love and respect? That's so important. So empathy is something people don't even follow. It's all written in all casted stones. So let's say you say that I'm not coming to office today. I'm not feeling well. Does the manager permit you to take off? Or say, no, there is a project now, deliverable is there, get it done. But I'm running temperature, I need to take care of that. Do they give you that option? That's part of empathy, right? Second one is reliability. How reliable is my BRM today? I've had one BRM said that if I give the job to Scott, Scott will get it done come what may. That is reliable, correct? You should not be saying that, oh, there is a problem, I don't know how to fix it. You give it to him and he will be able to complete it. And that's part of reliability. Transparency, easy or difficult? Is transparency easy or difficult? Sometimes if you are transparent, people take you for a ride. Yes or no? How many times you have had that you being transparent and people use this situation for you? Aarti said this. I will take revenge on her. Right? All the whole aspect is lost because transparency is underrated. And it's also vulnerable, correct? When you're transparent, you're vulnerable. Collaboration. Oh, this is a big, mind-blowing word for me. You know what? Bachpan se hum log kya kar rahe hain? Be the first. You have to be the first. You have to be topping the class, right? From the beginning of your childhood life till the college, till the thing, you have to be on the first, right? First grades, first distinction. Then you come to the office, they say collaborate. But samajh bhi nahi aa raha hai. What does mean by collaboration? I've always been an individual performer, yes or no? I have had several conversations with CXOs who says that I have a big problem to manage Z. They come at whatever time they come. They go at whatever time. They don't show up on a stand-up meeting. How many of you have had this problem? The stand-up meeting is only for people who are aged. Because other people work late night. Nah? So there is no concept of coming into the part of it. Is that part of it? So the whole point is collaboration is becoming a joke. And I'll tell you by 2025, it is already 2025, 2026, 45% of people who have been after 2000 born. Which means there is so much of cultural differences that you need to manage. I call this as generational leadership. You need to have different ways to motivate people to drive this purpose, right? And all of those stuff. Now, this is characteristics. Do we have creativity, by the way? What's an example of creativity? Now, I'm not talking about jugaad. Creativity is much beyond that, right? Creativity means is thinking about what else can we do that will be effective to turn around an adversity. Can I say that? Because every time you have a curveball coming in, how do we turn this around is part of what we call as creativity. Presence. Executive presence. How many of you think that it's important to have executive presence? And executive presence means that you need to do storytelling. In IT mein we are very bad in communicating. Pathetic hai communication. From the beginning till the end, we all talk about the same thing, the same syllable, same tone. Nobody even know how to differentiate part of it. So point of it is that you need to have executive presence. How many of you think that as a BRM, if you have strong executive presence, you can influence a lot of people? You might not have the authority, but the ability to influence will only be possible when we actually get in this mode of being executive presence, right? So you need to develop this skill, very importantly. And finally, adapt, right? The change is so important to be adaptive. So as we go through this, let's talk about, well, I did this clicker and it's starting to do that. So what does it mean? In empathy, how BRMs tries to see the things from partner's perspective. How high-performing BRMs use empathy as a driving force in all they do. How many times you talk to the business partner before they even talk, you know what they're going to talk. Have you seen that? It's kind of verbal, non-verbal cues to know what, at least with your spouses, you would know what they're going to tell. Yes or no? I mean, that's a relationship, right? Which means you know exactly what the person thinks and acts. And that's so important. If you're able to know what they're thinking before they're acting, that's called empathy. The second one is about reliability. Always shows up when asked, delivers on promises. His start as a member of partner teams, taking ownership. That's a very difficult word. In IT, we talk about RACI metrics. How many of you are familiar with RACI metrics? Responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. Accountable ka matlab kya hai ki single neck to choke. Yes or no? We only kind of hold one person accountable. That era is gone. Today we need to talk about shared ownership. We are in this together. Business partner and BRM is together to finally deliver something of significant value. Yes or no? Is shared ownership easy? It cannot be possible if you don't have shared goals. The developers are measuring developer by the number of lines per code, velocity. Operations team is looking at response time, resolution time. Can you please enlighten me? What is the common metric that cuts across the value chain? Zero. Then you talk about shared ownership. It doesn't happen at all. Third one is about transparency, full disclosure. I actually have a business partner who I called. He's a travel agent. He also is a currency exchange guy. I always call him. He said, sir, you can book it. I wanted a currency exchange of Australian dollars. And he said, sir, it will be too costly. You can do it by yourself. This is not the cost-effective way for you. It is losing his business. But he puts his interest on me, saying that this is more important for a lifetime. How many of the times we can do that? You thought which is important for your business partner more important than what is for you. I'll get more jobs, I'll get more opportunities, or we say, no, we want to serve the business partner. That's really what we call as transparency. Trust and integrity. Oh, big problem with trust and integrity. Does it mean that people who don't show up on time have trust issues? Trust is very, very, very difficult to measure. The way I look at trust is very simple. Can I give you an analogy? A piggy bank. Every positive interaction that you have with your business partner is putting money into the kitty. That's called of positive element. Then anytime you have a bad experience with the business partner, you take money from the piggy bank. So the net currency is what we call as the trust index. So the more positive interactions that you can make, you can actually impact a lot of people. Well, creativity means that we can do well. How many of you have been a part of hackathons? Have you heard about hackathons? Right? How many of you people have heard about chaos engineering? Something like very experimenting part of it. And there is a level of ways that you do. Game days. Have you heard about game days? So some of the things you have to start thinking about is when you do it as a cross-functional team, you can actually impact a lot more people than just doing it on yourself. Correct? How many of the times you've said, don't touch it. It's all working well. But those are organizations which cannot experiment. But if you do experimentation and learning from that, that's what real creativity is all about. Now, as we start to look at this one, I don't want to read this one, but I think you need to think about what is your capability, what's your partner's capability, and how you can coach. Can you coach your business partners? Business partners are what we call as customers in the traditional world. How many times have you seen that you have to educate your business partners? A lot. Do we spend time to educate the business partners? No, we are busy executing our projects. A significant part of your strategic BRM is to focus on enabling your business partners to be successful. Correct? When they are successful, you can be successful. How many of you are doing design thinking workshops? You can actually do that. Now let's talk about competency. What kind of competencies are important for a BRM? What kind of competencies are important for a BRM? Definitely communication skills. Conflict resolution, right? Jagda hota rehta hai, right? And the whole point is how do we make sure that it's easy enough to be split and make that work. So let's look at what are the core competencies that I think are important. But before that, competency like truth, beauty, and contact lenses is in the eye of the beholder. Correct? Whatever you talk about. So let's talk about this one. As we go through competency, the first one, I'm going to give you some key aspects. The first one, ability to understand and relate to human beings. We have lost this touch. We've lost this trait, yes or no? We've always tried to take people for granted, including your family members. How many of you can be open about that? We take that our family should understand what we are. And I can tell because I just go around and I don't take care of that, because it's important to understand people go through emotions. We are social animals. We need to understand that and relate to the human being. It's not about titles and suits, right? How many of you watch Suits? Very interesting episodes. So part of it is to understand interpersonal skills, meaningful relationships. Like I and Rachit were talking, he said, I don't know whether I would be able to meet you in person. That's the level of longing that you have when you have genuinely connected with people, correct? And emotional intelligence should be high. Second one, strong organization awareness. How many of you people think that is important? When you join an organization, it's more important to understand the do's and don'ts of an organization. How many times you have seen that's the way it works in our organization? That's the organization culture. So being aware of the organization construct is important. Do you think that you spend more time in your company, you get better in getting things done? How many of you think that? Because you know a lot of people, you made connections, you know exactly how to do this. So strong organization awareness is going to be the second skill that is most important to do it. Number third, powerful leadership. I think a lot of times, I think what Malini said about BRM should act as like a compass for leadership. And that means you need to lead from the front. How many times a leader has said, I don't know what will happen, I don't have all the answers, but I need your help? How many of the times you have heard leaders talk like that? That's a part of a situational leader who probably says that I don't have all the answers. I don't need to have all the answers. The fourth one, focus. Tremendous focus. Focus on results. A lot of times I think we do too many things. How many people can do? We do too many things. We call this khichdi in Hindi, right? But you have to be focused, laser focused on one thing that will give you the most results. So think about it. Which one activity every day which will move the needle? That's going to be an important part of how we will drive that. And start saying no. Subtle no. Because you need to focus on things that really add values. So we did talk about 4. Focus on results. Proactive thought leadership, because a lot of times we need to move from what we are today to the next level. I tell people that if you are not at 2 levels above your business partner, you will lose your respect, right? You need to be ahead of the game, which requires you to think differently and act differently. So that's the part of what we talked about here. Talent development. Is talent development a big problem today? Right? Churning of people is one. Upskilling themselves is another one. How many of the times you have seen people don't want to change into new technology? Yeah, I'm okay, I'm comfortable with that, right? So a lot of these things requires you to look at what are your existing skills and competencies will not be effective to take you to the next level. So we talked about this one, ability to understand and relate to human beings, strong organization awareness, powerful leadership, determined focus on results, thought leadership and talent development. So I have a couple of more slides and I'll be done. Actions. Don't be afraid to give up the good to go for great. Short term versus long term. I'm a strong proponent of infinite game. If you want to play the infinite game, you do things that nobody else would have done. If you're a street sweeper, sweep the floors that nobody else can do it. That's excellence, right? You set your benchmark, not on KPIs. Now, if you do that part, what does good versus great look like? In the good world, you build relationships, you shape demand, you create partnerships, but you see your impact is dying. From the time you started till it came down, it's dying. In the new world of great, how does it look? The great looks very differently. Where you build bonds, drive growth, create impact. Converge strategies, inspire innovation, discover opportunities, leverage investments, and empowering decisions. This is what will give you to sustain in the future of BRM era. If you just do that, that's good enough. But you have to go to great. And it takes time and effort to build that. So that means once you do this, your impact is going to be high. Do you all agree that? If you have to kind of create more impact, that will give you the most value for your business stakeholders. The last one that I want to talk about, the way you think, the way you plan, the way you act, and the way you communicate is going to be important. So what does it mean? The first one, What do? They think and behave as executives. Can you think like executives? Don't waste my time. Just give me something which is of value. Connect at a human level. Go beyond your project. It's not about your typical scope, costs, budget and all of this stuff. Demonstrate strong business acumen. How many of you think that business acumen is important? Your ability to understand the way business operates today is so important. I narrated of a question where there was a database administrator who was hired in a shoe company. And the CEO called the shoe company person, what do? He said, I do database administration, I do performance tuning, I do queries. He was just asking the same question again and again. He was repeating the same answer. And the CEO said, I don't understand what you're talking about. Then this guy said, I joined the wrong organization. They don't even know what is database administrator. And he said, the reason why you are here is to make sure our shoe company is prosperous. So if you don't think about how your database administrator role is going to contribute to the shoe growth and development, you are not fit into my part of my job. It is similar to what someone was serving tea and coffee at NASA was asked, what do? He said, we put the man onto the moon. That person was serving tea and coffee. That's level of purpose. So purpose has to be driven. What they don't do, live by arc chart. No. I cannot go behind my pod. You have skip level leaders. Focus on what is delivering. Sir, I did what I was asked to do, sir. I will not go beyond this. Celebrate operational task and just complete task. I just get the task. I'll just give one example and I'll open it up for floor. I was actually in Noida with a company where I was doing ITSM consulting. And on Thursday afternoon, people are playing table tennis. The service desk is playing table tennis. I said, boss, what happened? You don't have any tickets to resolve? Sir, we're waiting for P1 tickets to come. Because our measure of goal is when you solve priority 1 incidents. All my 2, 3, I don't care. So the behavioral change is also related to your metrics that you measure. So very importantly, just don't be completing task and order part of it. So in essence, we all play different roles as partner, consultant, broker, multiple jobs that you're kind of doing it. As a coach as well. So this is my last slide. I'm told 5 minutes, so I'll go. So what I want you to leave as part of the high-performing BRM is a few key takeaways that I want you to take over. Number 1, high performers always try to improve and find ways to do things better. There's always something that you can do better. That infinite game, 1% improvement every day. That's a hallmark of a high-performing team. Number 2, focus more on the human aspect, particularly with the AI in part. Can we have that relationship together? Have that conversation that is more meaningful, that we are in this together. How many of you think you felt good about it? That someone talked to you, particular stranger, and particularly it happens when you are in abroad, people start speaking in your own language. You feel very excited about it, right? Human aspect of relationship. Number 3, be honest with yourself on personal assessment. How many of the times you say that, I am terrible in this particular thing? Can you accept that? It requires a lot of courage. But that's a mark of a leader. I don't have all the answers. I may not be great, but I'll accept what it is and then I'll move in that front. Number 4, always conduct yourself professional pride and confidence. How many of you actually take pride in being part of your organization? Please raise your hands. That is so important. Can you jump out of the bed and say that, yes, I'm going to go to office? Or he says, oh my gosh, Monday, I wish there was two more days for holidays. When you're inspired by a purpose, you can actually do this day in and day out. Yes or no? You have to take pride in what you do because your company is giving you a platform. Let's make sure that the organization succeeds. And the last one, whether characteristics of competency or action, you have to think yourself as a leader. You might not be having a title called leader, but if you can act like a leader, that's how greatness happens. Yep, that's all for me. I'll be more than happy to take any questions, but I think I'm out of time. I hope this was useful for you to understand a little bit more on high-performing BRM, but more importantly, each one of you can be a game changer. I'll leave with one thought. I was actually studying people. Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi. There's one thing unique about all these three. What is it? Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi. There's one thing unique about everything.
All three are lawyers.
All three are lawyers. That's a good one. Okay. What else? That's a good one.
Humble.
Humble. Okay.
Very good, inspired.
They were inspired. Look, a single person can make a difference. And I want to leave you with this thought. You might think you don't have an organization at your reach, but you as an individual can make a difference. So go there and make it great. Thank you.